Do you guys want to see something absolutely wild? Well, first of all, Trump deported a group of Venezuelans who aren't gang members, and multiple lawyers have had to come out and fight to get these people returned to the United States. But this is one of the quote-unquote gang members that Trump deported. A gay man who practices makeup and just happens to have a tattoo. And Trump, and ICE in particular, are deporting people solely based off tattoos. Now, I'm not implying that a gay dude can't be a gang member, but it's just comical that Trump is rounding people up based solely on tattoos on their arms, and he's deporting some of the sweetest people possible as collateral damage in his eyes, and now lawyers are coming out saying, dude, you cannot be deporting people with zero due process. Now, just to run you up to speed, before this article dropped that says Trump deported Venezuelans who aren't gang members, Trump actually invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a law that is incredibly draconian, and it was last meaningfully used during World War II. You can use it to deport hundreds of people en masse with zero due process. Their identity doesn't matter. What they did doesn't matter. Who they are does not matter. They can be a random dude who just practices makeup and happens to have a tattoo on their forearm. But the thing is, Trump is trying to recreate the strategies used in Venezuela. So in Venezuela, the Maduro regime previously used tattoos as a justification for sweeping arrests. Think massive detentions, arguing that certain symbols tattooed into your body were linked to criminal groups. And the thing is, it worked out really well in Venezuela. It was actually disturbingly effective because the gang tattoos were very common and very intentional. Gang members would have to follow strict tattoo patterns, so it was very easy to identify gang members and lock them up, but you run into some problems when you try to recreate that strategy in the US. Let's break down this article. It says, not all of the hundreds of Venezuelans deported last weekend by the Trump admin were gang members, according to lawyers challenging the U.S. move that whisked them out of the country. All that I ask from you guys is to scroll down, hit that like button, and watch until the end. It's important to help get this information out there. President Donald Trump went after members of the Tren de Aragua gang through a March 15th proclamation that referred to, quote, alien enemies who are conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the U.S. government. And here's the thing. If there are Tren de Aragua gang members out there, which it seems like there are, get them the hell out of here. I'm the first one to say, dude, if there's a gang member who snuck into the country 2 years ago and since then they've only been causing chaos and devastation and ruining people's lives, I'm not someone who's going to fight for this person to be here. Get them the hell out of there. But you cannot say that this dude right here, or the handful of other people who were deported without due process with no criminal record, you can't say that this dude deserves to just be deported. And I want to highlight something very important. It's not just about deportations. It's the fact that these people are sent into a brutal, lawless prison system in El Salvador where torture, malnutrition, forced labor, many other ways of degrading prisoners are very, very common, are rampant in these prisons. So, I mean, if you're a Tren de Aragua gang member and you get sent to a prison like that, I don't care as much. You came over here, you chose to commit crime, and you can go back to El Salvador, but what about all of the other people? What about the people who were living their lives and they were deported just because of a tattoo? I mean, you can see the tattoo on his left forearm right there. It looks to be a snake and maybe a rose down there. This says, immigration attorney says asylum-seeking client was deported because of misreading of tattoos. Let's watch this video from MSNBC last night.
Here's immigration lawyer Lindsay Kozlowski. Quote, our client worked in the arts in Venezuela. He is LGBTQ. His tattoos are benign. But ICE submitted photos of his tattoos as evidence he is a gang member. His attorney planned to present evidence he is not. But he never got the chance because our client has been disappeared.
That is wicked. That is some of the worst. That is terrible.
Joining us now is Lindsay Kozlowski. She's president of Immigrant Defenders Law Center. Ms. Kozlowski, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this is unusual, and correct me if I am wrong. I know that you have not previously identified your client when speaking to the press or when speaking publicly, but I understand that you want to share his first name and some photos with our viewers tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct. Names and identities of people have been shared today via a list. And so we know that it is inevitable that our client will be identified. And we feel it's important to let the world know who Andri, our client, is, because he is a human being. He is a young professional from Venezuela. He's a makeup artist. He is a gay man. He is someone who came to the United States seeking protection. He came seeking asylum. Upon entry into the United States, he
looks very dangerous. He looks very dangerous. Sorry, it's not funny.
Was detained because of his tattoos, some of which you can see in those photos, but these are not the tattoos of somebody who is involved with gangs. These are normal tattoos that you would see on anybody at a coffee shop anywhere in the United States or Venezuela. And today, we have confirmation from the government, one of the few groups or attorneys that have confirmation that our client is indeed in El Salvador. Our client last week was supposed to appear in court where we would have started the process of refuting the baseless allegations against him, but we never got to have that chance. Our client has been forcibly removed and disappeared, and we don't know what his legal case, where it goes from here.
Literally disappeared, and there's more to play, but really? A gay makeup artist dude who's just over here trying to make a living doing makeup? Get him out of here. He's that dangerous. But all jokes aside, it's actually incredibly enraging that people who are very close to finishing the process, they go through the proper means. This dude had an immigration lawyer, and we've seen multiple of these stories. I covered a different story last night, and it was the same thing. A dude with tattoos was deported, and he was like 2 weeks away from finally getting his green card or finally getting heard in court, yet Trump deports them with no due process. They don't ask for any sort of papers or name or ask about what they've tried to do to it's very, very disheartening. And it does make you wonder, why would anybody be incentivized to come over here legally anymore, to go through the proper channels or to bring their labor or education over here if they're just going to get deported either way? It's not good for the economy.
Do you know if he has any legal recourse at all? Do you have any means of contacting him, or do you have any means of trying to track one down if you don't have one now?
So the only reason we know that our client is in El Salvador is because he was supposed to be in court last Thursday. ICE never presented him. Over the ensuing days, we realized that he was likely part of this, group of planes that went to El Salvador. When we went to court on Monday, we were finally told by ICE that it was confirmed he was in El Salvador.
That is insane. I mean, just imagine living your life normally on a day-to-day basis, and you wake up one morning and you're part of a raid, and you know that he fought back, not physically fought, but he was like, hey, wait, no, I'm not supposed to be a part of this. He's like, I'm 1 week away from my court case. He probably tried to grab and stay, and they tore him out, and they put him in the van or whatever the hell, and they deported him. They deported this dude for no reason whatsoever. I want to play the rest of this, but really quickly. This goes back to a clip, and if you've seen this clip over the past few days, I've been playing it a lot. I debated Trump's former press secretary, Hogan Gidley, on Newsmax, and he said that Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, Democrats like me, want more violent criminals in the country. And I correct him to his face. I say, we don't want violent criminals in the country. You can deport them, just do it through the proper processes that are in place. With all due respect, what you were saying about Jasmine Crockett, that is not at all what she was saying in the clip. The idea that she wants to bring more undocumented criminals into the United States, she was simply saying, if you watch the broader clip and not just a 10-second portion of it, that we should go through the proper processes. These people should have due process when we're deporting them. That was simply the argument that she was making. The idea that we have to revive centuries-old wartime laws when we have the processes in place. So I don't like that you're taking Jasmine Crockett's words and trying to make it seem like she's for more violent criminals. Do you genuinely think Democrats like me want more violent criminals in the country? You think that I genuinely want that? I don't.
She's fighting against deporting them. The obvious inverse of that would be bringing them into this country. So obviously
she's fighting against deporting them without due process. She says go through the proper channels. Okay, so what I was saying right there, I'm not going to be the dude that says I told you so, but I told you, Trump's former press secretary, this is what happens when you don't go through the proper channels. But here's the sad reality. Trump's former press secretary doesn't care about this dude. He doesn't care that this dude was deported, and that's the sad part. because we are a country that has been upheld. We've come this far based on due process, and now Trump supporters are pushing that away. And man, these Trump supporters, especially that Gidley dude I was just talking to, they will relentlessly defend Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act, even though it's meant for wartime use against declared enemies of the United States. Number one, Venezuela is not at war with the US. El Salvador is not at war with the US. We're not being invaded by anyone. We're not at war with anyone, especially not Venezuelan immigrants like this dude. According to Trump's logic, this dude is an enemy of the United States who we are at war with. It's just a broad application that many people are saying is legally dubious at best, and it's a direct attack on due process. That's the main highlight that I keep trying to go back to here, because when many of the deported individuals had no meaningful opportunity to contest their deportation, to contest their designation as gang members based solely on their tattoos, it's just insane. You have to have the opportunity to contest these designations, to go to court and present your case, but they were rounded up, falsely labeled as criminals, and sent away to a prison with no legal recourse whatsoever. And again, it's not just about the deportation, it's about the fact that people were sent to prisons, to very, very violent prisons.
In that moment, they said that he was removed to El Salvador. The immigration judge said, how's it possible that he's been removed if there's no removal order? And the ICE attorney that was in the courtroom said, I don't know. The case has been set over, so we do have a hearing coming up in a couple weeks, but ICE has now told us that they will not facilitate communication with our client because he has, in their words, been removed, and that they will not make him available for that hearing in 2 weeks. So at this point, we are, of course, watching the case closely that is ongoing related to the Alien Enemies Act, and we're pursuing all avenues because, you know, our client's life is at risk. We're concerned for his safety, and the fact that he was, you know, forcibly taken from the United States with no due process, you know, it's something that really shocks the conscience. And
he's in danger. He was forcibly taken to one of the most dangerous prisons in El Salvador. It's called the, quote, Terrorism Containment Center. That's what they call it. And it's a prison where international human rights organizations have documented routine and extreme abuses against people being held there. There's torture like electric shocks, waterboarding, starvation. People come out there with malnutrition, very, very sick. Inmates are worked, sometimes to death. So again, it's not deportation. It could effectively be a death sentence, especially if you're somebody who's not ready to fight in a prison, in an El Salvador prison, especially if you're not actually a gang member. I mean, at this point, damn, he might as well actually be a gang member because he might be able to have an easier time in that prison. But Trump's White House is celebrating this all as a victory. That's the disgusting part. The Trump supporters online, the one that I was debating in this clip, again, not even a Trump supporter, this is Trump's press sec, and these two people on screen right here, the news anchors, were defending this. They were literally making the argument that you don't deserve due process if you came here illegally in the first place. And I was like, what if you are going through the proper channels and you're 1 week away from getting your citizenship, or you're 1 week away? Do you really deserve to be deported? But I don't know. I guess this is the new normal under Trump. And this is what authoritarianism creeping in to the mainstream of politics and immigration looks like. It starts with migrants, asylum seekers, dehumanizing people in vulnerable positions, and then, yeah, expanding from there. But we'll keep covering it every single day. I love each and every single one of you guys. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.